Okay, so this is to illuminate the Indian headdress, I think they call it, on the 2001 Indian Roadmaster. So I ordered this kit from Custom Dynamics. Okay, and I'm starting kind of in the middle here, but I figured I would make a quick video because it took me a few minutes to come up with a plan for this. This is originally not illuminated. So I ordered this knowing that it was not like not a direct swap or a direct fit for this bike, but all it is an LED strip with two leads. So I figured I'd come up with something. So just wanted to share that. So anyway, I'm gonna switch the camera around and then show you what I did. Okay, all right, so like I said, I've already been in there, so I will show you how this comes off in a minute, but that's the Indian headdress that I'm talking about. Okay, so first of all, you have to take off your fender, and there are 4 bolts, 2 on each side of the lower forks, and they are, on this bike, they're number 6 Allen. They are these guys, right? So take 2 out of each side, right? So that's total 4, and then you're going to be able to remove your front fender. Okay, so fender's removed, and what you're going to have is here's the fender here. So like I said, this is already removed, but this will be sitting on your fender like that, and you're going to have to remove 2 screws. I believe they're T30 stars or Torx, right? So in there and in there, right? Okay, so what's going to happen is you're going to end up with this. You're going to peel off this little mounting tab, okay, and that's going to expose 3 screws. Right, so you remove those screws, and then you take this plate out, and then behind that plate is just the little glass emblem. I'm not going to pull it out, but it ends here. It's just like a small piece of glass. It doesn't fill up the whole cavity. So what I did was I took the LED strip, which is it's probably about as long as that punch. I don't know, maybe 4 inches long, right? And I laid it on the inside of the emblem like so, pressed it in, and then I just used hot glue with the LEDs facing out, like facing that way. Okay, and you might be able to see that. There you go. You can see that yellow one shining through in there, right? And the strip just goes back, and then I folded it up, and then I brought the wire out, and I just hot glued on the inside of the headdress, right? And then what I did was I drilled a hole. I'm not sure the size, but it's just a little bit more clearance, just a little bit larger than the wire. Drilled the hole, brought the wire out, screwed everything back in, and I double checked it with a 12-volt power source. Here, I'll put that on. Okay, so I just used a jump start, a battery 12-volt jump starter for my power source, right? So there it is. It's hooked up. It's Charlie right there, right in the middle of everything. Okay, and then if we turn it on, we get it to illuminate. Right? It's pretty bright. So that's it. Okay. And I believe these leads are, I think if you hook up the positive and the negative, like if you mix them up, they don't work. So they're the polarity has to be correct. Okay, so then next, what I did was I removed the headlight, And this is a LED headlight. Okay, and let's see, whoops, wrong way. All right. So what happens is you have to remove this trim piece, and I used a tool like this. It's plastic, so I didn't scratch the fairing, and that just pops out. So if you look on the inside, right, it's just got these two connectors that are just like push in, and it looks to me, this first time I had it out, these yeah, it looks like they kind of correspond to that, and then you just pop the whole thing in. Right, so you take that out, and that will expose, oops, that will expose this bracket. Okay, and that sits up in there, and that holds your headlight, right? So around the sides, you'll see those holes. There's 4 holes, right? They're 10 millimeter, little 10 millimeter bolts, right? So once you pop that out, it's going to hang down, and you're going to end up at this connector, right? And this connector, I can't really see up in there, but it's got this pin, so it mounts up into, you know, a bracket up there, right? So what I did was I popped that out, I took the connector out, and then I cut the wires. And these are just leads that I was using to try to determine how I wanted this set up. So I'm going to set it up for always on low beam. So you can put it on always on high beam, or I think I can have it always on both low or high, but I'm going to do low beam. So I cut those, pulled back the insulation or the protective covering, and then I stripped these. So now what I'm going to do is I went up to Harbor Freight, bought an electrical connector assortment, and I'm going to just use these flat blade styles to connect. I'm going to repair these, and then I'm going to splice in a connector, probably a female connector on each one of these, and then I will splice in male connectors on this end. Oops, there we go. Splice in some male connectors on that, and then I'll be able to change it if I want it to go to low beam or high beam. And I think that's it. So I'm gonna go to the next step, and I'll be back to show you the connectors. Okay, and one other thing is there's a front mounting hole for the actual headdress piece, and then there's a back mounting hole which they have as a slot. So I guess it's like a universal fit, I guess, if their tolerance isn't right. So anyway, I found that the wire will go through and it will tighten, but it was really super tight, so I didn't want the wire to chafe. So what I did was I took a round file, put this guy on the bench. Hold on. Okay, so it's on the bench. I took this. Can we see it? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so you can see I had already, that's how far I filed. That took me about a minute. No big deal. Just doing that. Okay, so that's going to now correspond with that hole and the wire. Like they'll be able to come through. So I'll just maybe hit that with, yeah, it's got a little burr down here. So I'm going to hit it with a file on the other side. Just get rid of that burr so it doesn't tear up the wire over time. Right, so now we're going to put this thing back on and finish it up. Okay, so this is to get a little dab of, this is a paint and primer. So just taking a Q-tip. Okay, and just gonna hit that spot right there. That should be it. Just again, so if I have this bike for years and years and years, it doesn't develop a rust spot or bubbles on the paint. Okay, and that's all covered up anyway from the headdress. So next I'm going to clean up the underside of this, and I'm going to run this wire across, and somewhere out here, I'll have to take a look at it once I get it on the bike. And I was trying to come up with easy, like non-invasive ways to get the wire, to route the wire. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a hot glue gun, and I'm going to, like what you would do like if you were tack welding, but with a hot glue, I'm going to like tack it to a couple spots, and then I'm going to get RTV, which is silicone, and then I'm going to cover it in the RTV, because that RTV is a pretty good adhesive. And I'm just going to file it out and just kind of build like a cover out of RTV, and bring it right up the side. And I think that should be good. Again, this thing was inexpensive, relatively inexpensive. I think it was $17 or $18, and it's just a piece of wire. So if it falls off later, I will update this and come up with a new way to attach it. Okay, so clean it. This is simple green. I'm just gonna wipe her out. Be back with a clean fender. Okay, next I got some IPA, isopropyl alcohol. Use that for my final wipe, because that's a solvent, and that should really take care of any leftover grime. And I'm gonna wipe that out and then start the install. Okay, so that's it all wiped out. You can see it's still evaporating there. So it's pretty dirty, and this bike's brand new. So I'm going to start the install. I'll be back with that. Okay, and I would definitely recommend, oh, that's really coming out a lot. A little bit of loctite, a little blue loctite for those mount bolts. Okay, so here it is going in top side. So you can see there's that little notch that I put in. That should provide just enough clearance. There's the corresponding bolt holes. All right, so it's going to go like that, and then I'm going to flip it over and feed those two screws with the star heads on them and blue loctite. So I got one in, right? And now you can see how that thing sits right in that little pocket there? And you can see the circle from the bottom part of the head. So it's just gonna make it. I could probably do a little bit more, but I think it's okay. I'll show you when I get it done. Okay, so these aren't torqued down or cranked down real tight, but just wanted to bring this in to show you. You can see it's got just enough clearance. Right? It just makes it. So that's going to be good. So what I'll do is I'm going to put a little RTV in there. Like I said, probably going to send this over like this, or maybe even on the sideways. I guess it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to see it. And I'm going to tack it with the hot glue gun right there. And then I'm going to build up some RTV. Probably going to look nasty, but no big deal as long as it works and it keeps the moisture out of the headdress. I think we're good. Probably put a little dab on that side too. Probably should have did it before I put that in, but oh well, no big deal. So the right side brake cable is the one that I'm going to jump onto, and I'm going to do basically the same thing as over there. Just route it up routed up the brake cable. And then we're going to end up in the middle there and make our connections. Okay, so here was that plan. You can see I tacked it a couple different spots, brought it all the way to the edge. There's like a little little flange here, so I kind of caught it, and you know, it's almost like a little natural channel, and it's going to go up the back, and I hope that's enough. So now I'm going to build up RTV all through here. So I think if it works, great. If it doesn't, the good thing about this is it's like I was saying, it's like non-invasive. So all you have to do really is pull this, and all the glue's going to pop off, and the RTV is going to peel right off with it, and you're never going to know it was in there, except for that little, couple millimeter enlarged hole. There'll be no way to tell if it ever has to come out, which I doubt. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm going to use next. Thank goodness I have 2 tubes. Okay, there we go. RTV in place. Looked a lot light. It looked a lot nicer when I first did it because I just put a bead up, each side of it. And then I went back to smooth it out. And if you ever worked with RTV, it's really sticky and hard to kind of control. But anyway, it's covered. It doesn't look beautiful, but I think it's definitely functional. And the cool thing is, like I said earlier, is once this dries, if you pull this up, it's going to bring that whole thing up like a piece of tape. So it's removable, right? And it's it's not going to leave any corrosion or anything like that, and it's should be good. All right, so now to get back on the bike. Okay, so I'm putting these leads back together. I'm just soldering them, and I'm gonna put heat shrink over, and I'm also gonna have a pigtail coming out with a like a flat blade connector, disconnector. So I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, so I had cut these wires. So what I did was I soldered them in, and then I used heat shrink, made all the connections nice and tidy, and then went back, soldered these females in, and also this female. So I believe this is the red one, this is the black, and this is the white. This is the black, white, red. But for my purposes, this one is the low beam, this one is the high beam, and that's the common or the ground. And then same thing over here. There we go. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be the hot one, this is going to be the ground. So I can attach to either the high beam, low beam, or the high beam over there, and this one goes to the common or the ground. So that's it. So now all I have to do is just remount this, plug this back in, make these connections. I'll probably put some heat shrink over them, like once I make the connection. And what I'm planning on doing is hooking it up to low beam, at least for right now, and I'll see if I like it. If not, I can always change it to high beam, or I can just abandon the whole thing and run it to the power, put my own switch, or I could wire it to the fog lamps, or I guess there's a bunch of different possibilities. So all right, so now I'm going to put this back in, and we're going to go it's going to be those 4 bolts, right? And that's it. And then we're going to just route this up with some zip ties right up the brake line, make the connection, and do some heat shrink, and we should be good. Okay, so there's blue loctite on those two. Okay, so here's the zip ties in place. Okay, it's coming out of here. I'm not sure. I might peel it back and bring it over to here. Not sure. I'm just going to leave it like that for now. And it just goes up to the top of the brake line. Comes through the fairing or the nacelle, whatever they want to call it. And there we go. So now I'm going to make the connection, or I'm going to put the mount, but actually I'll make the connection, then remount it and start it up. There we go. Get a wide shot of this guy. Yeah. Okay, one thing that I just realized, if anybody does this, you don't have to take this mounting ring out, right? So it'll save you unscrewing and reinstalling these 4 screws, right? So this mount ring right here, see that guy? There we go. You see that? So that just holds the light into this. That holds it to this bracket. So you can just remove this bracket, and the bracket just pops out with those. There's 4 10mm bolts, right? And they go in here. So you can just remove them, leave this whole thing in if you want, and it'll save you 5 minutes of putting screws in, or the possibility of losing those little screws. All right, so actually come up in here too. So I don't know if we can see, but okay, so that is the light connector, and there's a little adapter that pushes in. So that's how that mounts, right? So we're going to connect that, and then what I'm going to do is these are the light connectors. Trying to get these guys. A little tough getting them over this. Heat shrink's pretty small. Okay, all right, so that one's in. And then I'm going to take this one. And that one's in. Get the heat shrink over it. Okay. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to leave this one. This is the high beam one, right? So if I come back, I can just peel the heat shrink off and put them in, and I'll clean all that up. Then I just have to make this connection up here, and we are good to go. It's a little tight. Actually, what I'm going to do is pop this out. Okay, there we go. So I loosened it up a little bit. There we go. All right, so we did that. Now I just mount this bracket back after I hit this with with the heat gun, and it's all ready. Okay. Okay, so everything's been heat shrinked, so now it won't make any contact, and it should be protected. So it's all ready to go. I zip tied it back up to that lead coming off of the clip that goes to the light, and now I'm just going to reinstall the bracket and put the trim ring around it, and it's done. All right, the last thing was the 4 bolts, the 4 10mm bolts. Right, so they're in, tightened, and then really we just have to put this trim ring in, which looks like it drops in that way, goes like that. I'm gonna have to put the phone down and finish it, but next we will try it out, make sure it works. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth. There it is. Okay, there it is. I was going to pull it out, but it's starting to rain. There's the bike. the SSR, RM450, G2 Moto 1714, KLX 110, KLX 110 on Bonnet, and wait, what is that? That is a KX65. So yeah, works great, looks cool. There it is. War bonnet or headdress. Looking cool. Took about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Good luck.